time, may I introduce our next speaker, Justice Priyantha Perera, initially from the Attorney General's Department, then Court of Appeal, and then Supreme Court Judge. Justice Priyantha Perera has held many other positions, but right now is Chairman of the Human Rights Commission of Sri Lanka. Justice Perera will speak to you on the National Human Rights Action Plan and Reconciliation.
Madam Chairperson, Mrs. Dara Vijitilaka, distinguished invitees, ladies and gentlemen, I deem it a privilege to have been invited to address the annual International Symposium 2012 organized by the Kotalava Defense Academy on the subject National Human Rights Action Plan and Reconciliation. I think this is something which is of great importance to us, reconciliation. And we have now to examine how and to what extent the National Human Rights Action Plan has helped in reconciliation in this country. May I therefore commence my address by introducing the National Action Plan for the Protection and Promotion of Human Rights. The government of Sri Lanka embarked on this important course of action of developing a National Action Plan in the first instance to respond to the outcry of the people of this country to take stock of the human rights situation in Sri Lanka after the recent experience of a prolonged armed conflict. The National Action Plan is also the government response, the response of the government of Sri Lanka to the Vienna Declaration and Program of Action adopted at the World Conference on Human Rights in Vienna in 1993, inviting states to consider the desirability of drawing up a national action plan, identifying the steps to improve the protection and promotion of human rights. The present National Action Plan for the protection and promotion of human rights is a result of a considerable period of consultation and cooperation between the government and civil society. This document, in my view, provides a detailed policy and legislative program to realize the fundamental rights and freedoms provided by the Constitution of Sri Lanka. There is also an opportunity to expand these rights and freedoms. The National Action Plan, with a specific time frame to implement the LLRC recommendations, has also been approved by the Cabinet. A task force has been appointed by the Cabinet to oversee, facilitate and implement the recommendations, headed by the President's Secretary, Mr. Lalit Veeratunga, the Secretary to His Excellency the President, and comprises representatives from all stakeholders, ministries and state institutions. The plan lists out implementation of recommendations according to activities, responsible agencies, key performance indicators, and has set a time frame to achieve these objectives. The action plan has rearranged the 285 LLRC recommendations and their sub-recommendations under 5 themes. International humanitarian law, human rights, land reform and settlement, restitution and compensation. The recommendation contained in 9.48 of the LLRC calls for the introduction of immediate steps to investigate abductions, involuntary disappearances and arbitrary detention allegations, and to bring the perpetrators to justice by the law enforcing authorities. The Ministry of Defence, Police Department, Legal Aid Commission and the Minister of Justice have been entrusted with the work to identify impediments as well as to build up the capacity within the Police Department for an effective surveillance mechanism and to establish community policing, among other tasks. This task has been given a time frame of 2.5 years, so that this has to be accomplished within a period of 2.5 years. That is specified. Within the first 6 months, the institutions have been directed to identify the impediments and to take remedial action. Recommendation 9.51 of the LLRC calls upon to appoint a special commission of investigation to investigate alleged disappearances and provide material to the Attorney General to initiate criminal proceedings as appropriate. The action plan directs to invoke present procedures as available in the Code of Criminal Procedure and to sensitize the public of the available mechanisms within a time period of 3 months. There again, the period of time is specified. The key responsible institutions to implement this are the police, the Attorney General's Department, the Ministry of Justice, and the Information and Communication Technology Agency of Sri Lanka. In response to the recommendation to devise a centralized system at national level to collect data on missing persons, the action plan has proposed an integrated database of missing persons compiled by the Department of Census and Statistics in collaboration with the Ministry of Defence within a time frame of 6 months. With regard to the implementation of the Registration of Deaths Act, at an administrative level, it would appear that this recommendation is already being implemented, while there will be constant progress reviews. This will be given wide publicity, targeting people in conflict affected areas where the government's 1919 hotline. As regards a call for an independent advisory committee to monitor and examine